What's going on, guys? Asian Guy here, very fresh out of the shower, as you can see, with the fabulous pink bathrobe and also my very drenched hair right now. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about some of my frustrations within Genshin Impact and also the Genshin Impact community. Some people might address it as drama. I don't really think it's drama, it's just my honest opinion on a few things that have been bothering myself and many other content creators. I know MTash touched on one of the topics that I want to talk about today. But before we go all negative Andy and all the world is doom and gloom, I wanted to bring a little bit of light, and I am very privileged enough to say this because I am friends with Lixie. I'm gonna do a little bit of selling out on behalf of a friend here, but for those of you who do not know, I have some very beautiful Genshin Impact merch, aka some pins right here. And I'm sure many of you guys recognize these because I have plugged these in the past, and I have good news. All of the characters, other than, of course, Shenhe and Yunshin, which just released, and I think maybe Noelle, are now available. A lot of people have been waiting for Kaya, for Beidou, for Ningguang, for Xingqiu, for Chongyun, for a lot of different characters, and now they are all available. Every single character in Genshin Impact is now available in these pin forms. The pre-orders are now open. They are going to be on, I believe, a first-come, first-served basis, because I don't know how many Lixie can actually manufacture, but the link is going to be in the description down below. Use code ATSU for a discount, of course, ATSU, and yeah. I hope you enjoy the pins if you do get the pins. If you don't get the pins, of course, there's no obligation to get them. But I do think they are very nice, subtle pieces of merch that I also have on my bag as well, but also on my desk because they're very pretty. And I can vouch that the quality is chef's kisses as well. So that is, again, lixiezooart.com, and you can check out all the information in the description down below. Now, we go on to a little bit of the bad and the sad news. So, let's start with what MTash or Mike was talking about, which is the begging. Now, I'm sure most of you guys have probably seen this. If you're on Twitter, if you're on Instagram, if you're on TikTok, any social media that isn't just a YouTube comment section, even on Twitch, you've probably seen how bad it is, especially with the most recent patch 2.4, where they announced 4 really good character banners, which are of course going to be Zhongli, Ganyu, Xiao. The weapons banner is actually 5 banners, I guess 6. The weapons banners, Shenhe, so we've got Zhongli, Ganyu, weapons banner, Xiao, and yeah, so a lot of people, especially after the patch 2.4 release, my personal experience is I've received a lot of messages from people asking me to give them money, essentially, asking me to whale on their accounts to bring home their 5 stars. And I just want to make it clear, guys, that while I do appreciate you guys, I'm not here to fulfill the role of a father for you guys or your parents to buy you stuff. I'm not here to be a sugar daddy, as much as I might be dressed as one right now, looking... Oh, too much chest there. Yes, I don't have chest hair, guys, okay? But I'm not here to be a sugar daddy, nor can I afford to be a sugar daddy, even if I wanted to be one. Because, for example, if there are 500 people messaging me to get them a 5-star, that's going to be around 120 to 140 pounds per person. I can't afford that, so realistically speaking, please stop messaging content creators. And it's not even just content creators, guys. Random people on Twitter, maybe the people who like to show off their characters or even show off a character or some good luck, will have comments under their tweets or under their TikToks like asking them, can you give me money? Or can you give me a welcome moon? Can you do this or that for me? And I'm just a little bit shocked that there's so many people that have not been taught that's kind of creepy, it's weird, and low-key, for lack of a better word right now, because I'm a mean person, it's low-key pathetic. It is low-key pathetic, and I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings that's watching this video, but I kind of feel like some people need the reality check, and they need that cha-cha-cha slap in the face, because they think this is normal behavior, like it's being normalized to beg for stuff from internet strangers. And that's not the kind of relationship I want to foster with people who watch my videos. And I don't believe any content creator wants to foster that behavior with any of their audience. Sorry for hitting the mic. And for me personally, that's why I don't really do giveaways. In fact, you know what? I don't do giveaways. Let's just say that's the case. I don't do giveaways. I never will do giveaways, and you can call me selfish or whatever, but I will never do giveaways because I don't want to cater to an audience that is only here to win stuff from me or to get free stuff from me, other than free content, but free stuff from me. It's just never going to happen. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to reward that behavior, and I don't want to reward people who think they can get away with doing stuff like that, because it's not cool. It makes people uncomfortable if you're begging people for stuff, or you just expect them to be like this object that gives you stuff. Because I, at the end of the day, am a person as well. Like any other content creator, regardless of their size, they are humans as well. And people can only take so much onslaught of desperation targeted in their direction. And I feel like it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I can understand why. And it's like, I'm not here to belittle people who do that, but I can understand why they're so desperate, because they're getting addicted to the game in a really unhealthy manner. And most people are still locked up with the pandemic. Lots of people have been at home and therefore online a lot, chronically online, perhaps to a fault, where they're starting to lose sense of reality, which is not good. And I just kind of want to, again, if you ever feel like you need to ask someone to give you money, especially a stranger, for a gacha game, just so you can get your 2D sexy characters, you have a problem. You are developing a gambling addiction, which is not healthy. And people might call me a hypocrite for saying this because I have videos of me spending a lot of money. But like, my position is completely different to people watching my content. I am here to make content, to entertain, and I'm doing so with my own money. I'm not asking people for money to do XYZ content. I am doing this with my own money, or with my own time, or with my own abilities, right? And this is where people need to understand, like, a content creator is not the same as someone like a 15 or 16-year-old who's still dependent on their parents, that doesn't have their own source of income. It's a very, very different thing. But we're still exposed to the same mechanics of the game, which is the fear of missing out. And again, with the banners we're coming, I can understand why. But this is why I reiterated when it first came out. There was a bit of backlash when it first came out. But having all these banners coming together and rerunning frequently is a good thing. It's a good thing because now, for Zhongli, the likelihood of you having to wait like 8 to 12 months for a rerun for Zhongli has decreased. It's more likely he's going to come back more frequently over the course of the year. Same thing with Xiao and Ganyu. You know, Xiao and Ganyu, when was their last time they came? Like 1 year ago. It's a very, very, very long time. But now if we get 4 banners or 3 banners every single patch, we're going to be able to start rerunning through characters much quicker. And eventually you'll be able to pull for those characters. The flip side is, of course, there are definitely people out there who just want to have every single character F2P, which is just not realistic. You have to be a little bit more realistic than that. I know it would be nice to pull with every character and play with every character and just own everything in the game, but that's unfortunately not how the real world and how Genshin Impact works. And I think some people just need that, you know, the slap in the face. And I hope this message gets across, because a lot of the time, and I've experienced this the hard way, between the age gap as a 53-year-old, a lot of people are like, he's freaking 53 years old. Why the hell would I listen to him? He's an old man. What does he know about me? What does he know about anything? And it's like, oh, it's my generation versus your generation. This generational gap causes a lot of conflict and a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of difficulty. Now, the next one, I've been really thinking whether or not I should even talk about this, because let me tell you what, the young generation, especially on TikTok and Twitter, are absolute unhinged menaces when it comes to taking things out of context, believing misinformation, believing their Twitter overlords or their clique leaders in whatever they say to push an agenda for cancel culture. And I've been thinking about this for a while now, but I'm going to talk about it because, one, it's annoying for me. 2, it's annoying for me seeing that my friends, just being associated to me, will have to deal with some negative repercussions or some cancellation. right? Cancelled by association is one of the most cursed things I have seen in this social media era. And it definitely didn't happen back in the day, but now it's definitely more prevalent because people are very angry and aggressive online. And they're not dictated by reason. It's more like dictated by emotions and a lack of rational thinking. That might sound mean, but I will explain why. So, the biggest example, and I will thank some people for this in a moment, and it will make sense, is I get labeled by many people on TikTok and many people on Twitter as a pedophile apologist, or a pedophile supporter, right? And this comes from me saying from a tweet, right, I'm going to paraphrase because I don't remember exactly what I said, because it was really not that big of a deal, in my eyes anyway, that the terminologies of otaku, waifu, husbando, lolly, and shota, these terms, from, the background that I am from, is just slang. It's slang, and it doesn't inherently mean if you use these terms, you're a bad person or a pedophile. Because what was happening is a lot of people are like, oh, if you use the terms waifu, if you use the terms husbando, if you use otaku, if you use shota, if you use lolly, you're a terrible, terrible person. And I was saying, you probably shouldn't jump to that conclusion because you don't understand the context that's coming from. And the reason I personally don't like using the words, and I don't use the words lolly and shota other than in explanations like this, is because I understand the context that those words might harm or be harmful to people, and some people don't like it. I personally don't use them for that reason. Now, people love to ignore that part, and they're like, he said the word lolly and shota, therefore he is a pedophile. Yes, so that is apparently why I am a pedophile, according to much of Genshin Twitter and Genshin TikTok. Now, the curious thing is, right, the reason this happens is because the word lolly is derived from Lolita, which is a Russian word, or derived from a Russian book, which fantasizes or romanticizes like this weird relationship with a little girl. And that's like the first definition that will come up on Wikipedia. And I know this because a lot of people sent me that image on Wikipedia. Little did they know, if I just Google the same thing on Wikipedia and you go to that page defining Lolita, if you just scroll down a little bit, there is a whole section talking about usage in Japanese culture. It doesn't say anime culture because that's probably a little bit too degenerate for Wikipedia, but Japanese culture, I know I don't sound it, and also anime culture. Now, I know a lot of people who watch my content are anime fans. You're probably thinking, oh my god, like this is such a waste of breath. But yeah, the definitions vary very much on context. For a lot of my generation, for a lot of people's, like who are mid-20s, 30s, even probably like above the age of 16, the words lolly and shota just mean little boy and little girl. And this is the heartbreaking thing for a lot of Genshin fandom online, is that in this game, the body types or the character types of the little female characters are actually labeled as lolly. Yes. Does that make Genshin Impact the game for pedophiles? Is it created by pedophiles? No. It's just that that's just the anime fandom term used in Asia, and it's very widespread with no negative connotations. Now, of course, there are negative connotations like lolicon, which is lolly complex, and also shotakon, which is shota complex, which in that case would make you a pedophile. Now, I can't believe I had to waste my breath explaining all of that, and people are still gonna clip this out of context, or they're just gonna feign ignorance and misunderstand on purpose, and that's fine, because I've come to the acceptance, or I've accepted now, that people want to hear what they want to hear. If they want to be ignorant and they want to cause problems, then that's what they'll do. If they want to have rational thinking and be open-minded, then that's what they'll do. I can't change any of that. I can only appeal to a certain kind of people, or unappeal to a certain kind of people, and that it is what it is. The thing that bothers me the most is, for example, my friends who also, with rational thinking, understand what I'm talking about, especially with cultural and generational differences. They may have said something that has come off as like they're defending me, or they're just agreeing with me, or they even just liked my tweet. They got backlash. And now you have people on TikTok, you have people on Twitter who are like, oh, you can't watch XYZ content creator, they're problematic. And people are like, why are they problematic? Because they're friends with Atsu. And that's fine if you think I'm problematic to those people. But don't loop in other people who just like my tweet, or who just made like a very generic statement under any of my tweets or my opinions. Don't loop them in as they're a problem as well. Because all they're doing is they're just having a bit of rational thinking. That's all they're doing. And they haven't said anything problematic. They haven't done anything problematic. But this kind of stuff spreads like wildfire. And it was because of this whole discussion over anime slang, guys. Yes, over anime slang. Some of you already know this, but I received a bomb threat. Now, obviously, it was a fake bomb threat, right? And I received it in the middle of the night while I was sleeping. And in the middle of the night, what happened was a lot of people on Twitter who are sensible, who use their brains, who are evidently not extremely young and naive and influenced, like gullible, they reported that tweet. And somehow it got escalated to the FBI. And it's really, really dumb. I think it's really, really dumb it got to that point. So I had to I had to deal with counter-terrorist police. Very early in the morning. It was a very unpleasant surprise. But at the same time, it was nice to know that the police in the UK are somewhat competent. And they had been contacted by the FBI or the authorities that were involved. Now, what Twitter and a lot of TikTok has spun this into, because the person was, I believe, a Luna stan or a K-pop stan that sent me the bomb threat. I also did not press charges, by the way. They have this narrative now that I'm a monster that set up this little child who doesn't know any better and sent me a bomb threat and tried to get them arrested by the FBI. I would like to repeat, I did not press any charges. I also did not report this tweet because I didn't even see the bomb threat because I was sleeping. The FBI is an American organization. Now, I don't know if this is like an incredible American accent that I'm doing right now, but I'm pretty sure it's evident that I should not really have any real way of contacting the FBI. But this just goes to show how, unfortunately, the lack of rational thinking and somewhat brain cells and intelligence can lead to an extreme misunderstanding, and then it spreads like wildfire on Twitter or TikTok, because I still see these comments today like, oh, Atsu called the FBI on a kid, or Atsu can't take a joke because he received a bomb threat. And this just shows me how out of touch some of these kids, and I hate saying kids because it's like I'm mocking anyone that's under a certain age, but the 99.9% common theme here was they were children. Because like the ones that I found especially problematic, I didn't necessarily interact with them, I just checked their profile. And this is advice for you children in the future, don't put your age on your bio. There are actual genuine pedophiles out there. There are actual genuine bad people out there that will use that information. Don't put so much information about yourself online, because that's how you get found out. That's how people actually locate you and cause trouble for you. Don't do that. And at the same time, don't make false threats, because you might actually get in trouble and that will ruin your future. And I just don't understand why people think this is a funny thing or it's a good thing. And the logic that I would use here is simply, if you're about to do something and you have the ability to think for yourself and stop yourself for even a moment, just think for yourself, whether it's begging someone, whether it's going to try and cause some Twitter drama or try and insult someone or send like a KYS or a bomb threat, just ask yourself this. If I was to do this same action in a room full of people, maybe my classmates, in a room full of my colleagues, or maybe if I was like 21 years old or above, would I still be doing this behavior? If the answer is no, I think that's a clear-cut sign that in your own subconscious and your own conscious, you know it's a bad idea. It's a terrible decision. It's either cringe, It's either uncomfortable, it's either gross, it's either creepy, and you know that, you consciously know that, and you're ashamed of it, which is why you wouldn't do it in public, or you wouldn't replicate that behavior at a certain age. So why do it now, right? Why do it now? And this is like a very fast track way of becoming a little bit more mature. It's just to project yourself and your action as if you were someone older. And if you're like, oh, an adult wouldn't do that, but why wouldn't an adult do that? And why would it be okay for a kid to do that? Because most of the time, it wouldn't be okay for the kid to do it or the adult to do it, except that the adult, if the adult does the wrongdoing, they'll get absolutely clapped and destroyed. If a kid does it, they'll get a slap on the wrist, right? So it's a really good way to prevent yourself from doing something stupid that could potentially ruin your future. And that's something that bothers me. And again, with the whole TikTok and the Twitter thing, people just want to be part of a mob. People just want to be part of a group. So they are happy to spread misinformation as long as it appeases their internet friends or the people they're trying to be friends with, which is the saddest part. It's like, oh, this person has a little bit of clout. They have like 1,000, 2,000 followers on TikTok or Twitter. I want to get them to be my friend so I can also receive likes and retweets or likes on TikTok. And that will make me validate myself a little bit more. I feel like that's really, really sad. And I don't mean that as in sad in a lame way. I mean sad as in people don't respect themselves to any degree that their self-worth and value is dictated by what internet strangers have to say about them. And not even say about them, but like just like them. That's really low, and your self-esteem has to be extremely low to be down in such a bad place. And I just want you guys to know, if you are one of those people, that doesn't have to be that way. And this sounds like it's stupid to be saying this kind of thing. It might be like I'm talking to a brick wall or whatever, but I feel like it's genuinely important for people to understand like real life human connections as opposed to digital connections, which translate into likes and retweets or internet validation, because it's very empty. It doesn't lead to anywhere unless you're trying to be an entertainer and try and go into content creation. It doesn't lead to anywhere other than trying to boost a very shallow ego, which is made up of internet validation. And the thank you part, and I've gone on a very long tangent here, apologies. The thank you part is, I also see on TikTok or Twitter when people are like, oh, why is this content creator problematic because they're friends with Atsu? Or because they're problematic because they said this or that, and they actually didn't say this or that, and it's been taken out of context. You also see on TikTok and on Twitter, a lot of people will be like, no, that's not true. No, why are you spreading misinformation? And I genuinely thank you people for having the common sense and the decency to just say something and speak up, because this like misinformation spreads so fast, especially with the younger generation. It spreads so quickly. People don't fact check. People don't double check. As long as they trust someone, and it can be like the thinnest shred of trust. Like, it's like, oh, this person has this many followers. They must be telling the truth. One person has verified this. It must be factual. And they will go along with it. And then that chain just keeps growing and growing and growing. And it's like an unstoppable force of, for lack of a better term, Zoomer hatred, which I've personally experienced, which unfortunately has spilled over into other people's communities just because they're associated with me, just because people think I'm friends with them. And I want to make this clear as well. Just because content creators, and this isn't limited to Genshin, but I will use Genshin as a specific example, just because there's a bunch of content creators that play Genshin, that stream on Twitch or make YouTube videos, doesn't necessarily make them all friends. A lot of people aren't even aware of each other's existence within the content creator sphere. And that's not like an ego thing, it's just a human thing. People don't have to be friends. You pick and choose your friends. You decide who you want to be friends with. If you're comfortable with them, you're comfortable with them. If you're not comfortable with them, you're not comfortable with them. And nobody else should get a say in that. Nobody else should try and force a friendship. Nobody else should try and pressure their content creators to collab with another content creator, because you don't know if they're actually comfortable with each other. You don't know if they're actually friends behind the scenes. And what I will tell you is a lot of content creators in Genshin Impact don't actually like each other off camera, don't actually like each other off the scenes. And what I mean by that is not necessarily dislike each other or they hate each other. They're just like co-workers. They're just like, oh, this relationship is mutually beneficial. We can collab every now and again, right? And there's a lot of that in Genshin Impact. So I want to make that very clear before people think, oh, it's a good idea, because I know Wind Trace is coming up. I'm already receiving a ton of comments like, oh, collab with Dish, collab with Jake or Twanto. Do this, do that with them for Wind Trace. And let me make it clear, I absolutely hate those two. I'm just kidding. Those two, I love those two, but like, I want to make it clear that those two, obviously, and most of the people I collab with regularly, they are like really good friends, like family to me. But I'm not necessarily friends with everyone in the community. I'm not friends with everyone behind the scenes because I've been burned. I know there's a lot of people who want to use me to send their place in the Genshin Impact hierarchy. I hate calling it that because I genuinely just want to be like friends with people, but it's very hard to tell what people's intentions are, especially when there's numbers involved, there's careers involved, there's business involved, and that's the downside of content creation. So again, I just want to make it clear that not everyone is necessarily friends, so please do not think that it's a good idea to try and pressure people into collabing or being friends. So yeah, those are the things that I wanted to get off my chest, my very non-hairy chest. YouTube, don't demonetize me, please, thank you. And have a wonderful, wonderful day, guys. I hope that was enlightening. We've just had Zhongli here the whole time. Probably should have said at the beginning of the video. It's going to be like a podcasty video. But yes, thank you very much for watching. And again, a massive thank you to the people who have rational thinking, who use their brains, who fact check before jumping on a bandwagon of hate. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.